big games, right? We had the Chiefs at home getting it done against the Colts, beating them 31-13, and the Rams hosting the Cowboys and beating them 30-22. Now, I am a nerd. I'm a dork. I understand this. Everyone who knows me knows this. All I do is watch sports and read like Pro Football Reference. That's essentially my life. And you get to the time of year late in the NFL season playoffs where what you want to do is enjoy the football that's happening. But also you're very much aware that if your team hasn't made the playoffs, that your team hasn't made the playoffs. So I like to look at the other teams that are there because I'm selfish and self-aggrandizing and try and figure out how those teams can benefit my team. And by that, I mean, what does the construction of the teams that are playing on TV, what does the construction of those teams say about my team? What does it say? Like, what am I looking for? What works in the NFL? We know it's a copycat league. What works in the NFL? What doesn't work in the NFL? And how can my team get better? We got a lot of Titans and Falcons fans in the area. The Falcons don't really need to do this as much because the Falcons, honestly, there's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with that football team offensively. That defense is small. It's undersized. They could draft and get bigger, find some guys in free agency. But there's nothing wrong with that team fundamentally. What was wrong with that team had a lot to do with scheme, design, and play calling. That's why Steve Sarkisian's no longer the offensive coordinator in Atlanta. The offensive coaching staff just got fired all the way down the board. Good idea. There are some things that needed to change there. But with the Titans are really interesting because you're looking at young quarterbacks, especially in the NFL, being thrust into positions where they have to be successful. Patrick Mahomes had to be successful. Jared Goff has to be successful, right? We've seen Deshaun Watson have to try and be successful. Dak Prescott last night. And I think that the Cowboys are a very, very good team to look at if you're a Titans fan, because they're not that different from you. Right? When you look at the way that those teams are constructed, you have Dak Prescott, who, quite frankly, he's got all the concerns that I have with Mariota. He's inconsistent. When he plays well, he's really good. When he plays poorly, it's awful. He's hot and cold. Sometimes he doesn't make very good decisions with the football. He tries too hard. He's mobile, right? The running game is very similar between the Titans and the Cowboys. The defenses, I think, are very similar between the Titans and Cowboys. There's a lot of similarities there. And yesterday, the Cowboys lost. Yesterday, the Cowboys were not able to get it done against the Rams team that, honestly, while that game wasn't anywhere near as close as it wound up looking, 30-22 was the score, but the Rams dropped 17 points on them in the second quarter. And it was kind of over then. The Cowboys hung around. They had a fourth down. They didn't convert. But let's not act like that game was actually that close. It really wasn't. The Rams dominated from start to finish. But you have certain limitations with Dak Prescott as a thrower of the football. Dak had some big plays on the ground, and I don't want to make it seem like he played poorly. Dak played very well. 266 yards, completed over 20 passes, threw a touchdown, rushed for a touchdown. But Dak's not a killer. Right? And that's my problem with Dak ultimately. And honestly, that's the thing that scares me the most about Marcus Mariota. People worry all the time with Marcus about his health and can he stay on the field. He can get that together, right? Like as Marcus becomes a better passer over time, he's going to take a lot less of those shots. The Titans have been building up that offensive line. They're going to get better. They're going to do a better job of protecting him. Derrick Henry as a running back is a fantastic pass blocker. But man, when you talk about Mariota, to me, it's the inability to go out there and kill. And we got a caller. How you doing today?
What's up, Chief?
Uh, you know, that's going all right. How about you?
Good.
All right. So, what do you want to weigh in on?
Well, you know how I feel about Marcus Mariota. Come on.
This is true.
Move on from Mariota. Find a cynical replacement and make that their franchise quarterback. Mariota is unreliable, and he's never going to be that great of a quarterback for the time. So they just pick a new franchise quarterback. That's the end of that story.
He's a franchise guy. He's got franchise talent. The issue with Marcus is and always has been, how far can he take you? And look, I understand when you go into the draft and you look at the success of a Patrick Mahomes, you look at the success of a Carson Wentz, Andrew Luck, all of those guys. I understand that that's what you want, but there's only but so many of those guys. There's most guys that you're drafting aren't that.
But we've wasted too much time on Mariota.
I mean, he's still on his rookie contract. I don't know how much more. Like, you can't give up on a guy partway through his rookie contract unless that guy is terrible. I mean, and Mariota hasn't been terrible.
He's not been good either. But maybe maybe it's just the fact that there's how many quarterback coaches or offensive coordinators however long.
Look, yeah, that's part of it is that he's had a different offensive coordinator essentially every year he's been in the league. That's not helping. That's for sure. But Mariota, he hasn't been great. I think he has been good, around average, sometimes better than that. But you have to give him all 5 years of his rookie deal at least, and then make a decision from there. When I look at Marcus Mariota, though,
Go ahead.
when I look at Marcus Mariota, and this is bad because you did draft him second overall in the draft, but I look at Marcus Mariota and I see Dak. He's got a stronger arm than Dak. He's faster and more mobile than Dak, but I see Dak. I see a guy that can take your team far if you've got all the right pieces around him. So the question is, do the Titans give up on him at the end of next season, or do they believe they can put all the right pieces around him? And I think once you have a guy that's good enough, you try and put all the right pieces around him.
Well, historically, though, if you look at the time, let's take Vince Young, for example. They gave up on Vince.
They did, but Jeff Fisher gave up on Vince, though. And Jeff Fisher's not a good coach. Like, how much are we going to put stock into any decision that Jeff Fisher actually makes?
Well, Jeff Fisher is the best talent in the NFL.
Correct. Except unlike Butch, Jeff found a way to continue to get jobs, and I'm not sure how that happened, but it did.
Like Rudy.
Yeah, man.
All right, buddy. We'll see you.
All right, that was Jason. I've never seen a Titans fan so ready to give up on Mariota. He might be the fastest one. He might be the guy. He is so ready to give up on Mariota. It's insane. It's crazy stuff. But no, the thing that I find the most interesting about it is I see a lot of Dak Prescott with Marcus Mariota, and I see Marcus as being potentially, he's got a higher ceiling than Dak. He's got a much higher ceiling than Dak. The question is, can the Titans construct themselves as well as the Cowboys have? I mean, the Cowboys gave themselves a chance in a football game against a team that they were really outgunned against. The reason why the Cowboys were never going to beat the Rams is look at the weapons on that team. I mean, look, they got Brandon Cooks. Jared Goff is playing good football, sometimes great football. Todd Gurley is getting back to being healthy again. And when Todd Gurley's healthy, good luck. I mean, the Rams are the most loaded team in the NFC talent-wise on the offensive side of the ball. Right? And then the Chiefs would be the most loaded team on the AFC side. I don't understand why the Cowboys were able to hang around in that game, except to say that the Cowboys are very well constructed. They're very well constructed. Look at the team. Look at that defense. Look at those linebackers, Leighton Vander Esch. Look at the way that Zeke is able to run the ball and they dominate on the ground. They weren't able to yesterday, and that's part of their problem. Is Zeke Elliott got held to 47 yards, and they fell behind early in the game. And you can't fall behind early, and we've seen the Cowboys struggle when they fall behind early. If you bottle up the Cowboys, if you're able to contain Ezekiel Elliott, easier said than done, if you can contain him, then you can beat this football team, because once they have to rely on Dak, they don't win. And that's despite Dak playing a very good football game. But Dak doesn't have a killer mentality. Right? Dak is not taking you out. Like, he's not scary in that way. He didn't play well. But Dak's not a killer. And that's my issue with Marcus Mariota too. Marcus isn't a killer. There has to be a balance. I don't want people to be Ben Roethlisberger. Ben Roethlisberger is a jerk. But Tom Brady's not a jerk. And you know what Tom Brady's been for most of his career? A stone cold assassin. Tom Brady, if you give him an opportunity to win a football game, will take you out. I don't see that from Dak. I don't see that from Mariota either. I don't think that means give up on him. I do think that means build around him. Give him weapons. Get him playoff experience, which means you've got to get him in the playoffs. Playoff experience feels like it counts double. Guys go to the playoffs and come back, and they're seeing, after seeing the way that football gets so much more intense in the postseason, that's a benefit that they can add to the regular season. But the Titans are in a tough spot. They have to get another offensive coordinator. They have to start again from scratch. And offensively, the firepower is just not there. Right? Like they've relied very heavily throughout the years on Delanie Walker to be that safety security blanket. They've relied on him a lot. But I don't understand why it is that we believe that Delanie Walker is going to be there forever. Like, dude's not getting any younger. Those injuries are going to pile up more. And I say this as a person who likes Delanie Walker. And I like the Titans, and I like what they do. But they're not very well designed, and they're far enough along in this rebuild. They could be better. And they've had decent draft picks and everything else. They could be better. John Robinson's done a great job trying to construct this team. But they're missing really talented guys. If Patrick Mahomes is going to win the MVP, but Patrick Mahomes, for as much credit as we give him, wouldn't be Patrick Mahomes without all the talent that he's got on his squad. We're talking about a guy with Travis Kelce as his receiver, Sammy Watkins, Tyreek Hill, who is the fastest guy in the league. I mean, there's just high-level talent all over that squad. They're dangerous. Patrick Mahomes, you want to give him all the praise and all the credit, and fair enough. He's balled out. But he's not alone. He's surrounded in talent. And he'll be the first person to tell you. I'm not saying Mariota's Patrick Mahomes. But what I am saying is you got to put talent around the guy, and you've got to fix whatever that offensive line situation is up front. Because Marcus Mariota he just gets knocked around like a pachinko ball. I mean, it's insane. Right? I mean, he does have an element of he's Mr. Glass. And he could be tougher. Right? He had a stinger in his arm. That's why he didn't play in the last game of the season. They win, and they're in the postseason. Well, guess what? Try and play through the stinger. You're QB1. That's your job. Try and play through it. Now, if you can't play through it, if you're playing and you stink and the ball's just wobbling all over the place, then go for it. But like you're not risking permanent damage to your career by playing through a stinger. That's not what that is. And you are the quarterback. You have to want it. That's that fire, that killer mentality. I don't see it in Dak. I don't see it in Marcus Mariota either. I see it a little bit in Matt Ryan. But like I said, the Falcons have different problems. I don't see it in Mariota though. He really there's no desire to destroy people coming from that guy. And to be clear, that's not all it takes. I don't want everybody in the world to be wandering around thinking they can just act like Kobe Bryant and everything will be fine. But there does have to be a strong desire to take out the other side. Mariota doesn't have it. Whatever it is, it's missing. It's simply not there. And you can mitigate some of that. You can fix some of that by building a team around him, by giving him wide receiver weapons that are elite, by giving him a high-level running game. A question that we're not asking, that we should be asking very frequently, is Derrick Henry the answer? Is Derrick Henry the answer for the Tennessee Titans? Because look at the other young quarterbacks that I just mentioned. Dak has Zeke. Goff has Gurley. Right? The Chiefs running back, whose name escapes me at the moment, he's really good. The guy that replaced Kareem Hunt, Damian Williams. Damian Williams has been fantastic. He had 126 yards last night. Like Damian Williams has been great. You need that rushing attack as a young quarterback. Can we talk about how Mariota doesn't get that from Derrick Henry frequently? Derrick Henry's been good, but I'm not gonna lie. He's the Titan I'm the most disappointed in. I'm really not all that disappointed in Marcus Mariota. Marcus Mariota is what I expect him to be because every quarterback you draft, even if you draft him first or second, I know when you draft a guy first or second, what do you want? You want luck. You want Wentz. You want what Baker Mayfield is turning out to be. That's what you want when you draft a guy first or second in the draft. That's what you're looking for. What's crazy to me is not everybody's that. Jared Goff isn't that. Jared Goff was the first overall pick in the draft, and Sean McVay saved his career. Right? Like we can blame so much of what Jared Goff started off to be on Jeff Fisher, and that's fair, by the way. Totally fair. But Sean McVay is the perfect coach for Jared Goff and what he does. Jared Goff needed a lot of help, and Sean McVay is giving him pre-snap reads into his headset right up until they cut off the communication between the quarterback and the coach. Jared Goff needed all of that stuff. He wasn't going to do that on his own. He's there now. So a lot of young quarterbacks playing. Today, we got the old dudes. Right? Drew Brees taking on the Eagles. Phillip Rivers. Tom Brady. And then, Nicky Foles for the Eagles, who's not old, but he's Nick Foles. So, 3 of the 4 quarterbacks playing today are all in the old generation of guys. So that does make this very interesting. And there's some comparisons there that you can make between the teams with the old dudes and Matt Ryan and the Falcons. Even though Matt Ryan's technically not old, he's not a spring chicken anymore. What can the Falcons learn from the teams that are playing today? Clutch with Keon Rose. I'll tell you next.
Traffic, news, and information. Nuga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM.
3, 2, 1.
Chatta, Nuga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4. 92.7 FM's news now.
The plane that went down in Chickamauga Lake in Saudi Daisy was recovered by crews working for the insurance company of the pilot, Frank Davey. His funeral services are set for Tuesday of this week. The remains of the plane were taken to a secure location so the NTSB can investigate to determine the cause of the crash. The Chattanooga Police Department revealed it's been looking for a bank robber since Monday. It happened at Gun Barrel Road at the BB&T. Reports say he changed his appearance after the bank robbery, getting a haircut and shaving his beard. We've posted his photo on our Facebook page. If you recognize him, call the cops. A family of 5 is going to have to stay somewhere else after a fire on Fowl Street displaced them. Damages done to the home tallied up to about $20,000. It happened just after 9 p.m. on Saturday. Crews say that repairs are possible and an investigation is underway. Russell Stroud, Nuga Radio News Talk 92.7 Action News now.
Expect a cloudy, damp, and chilly start to your Sunday with some drizzle or a little patchy light shower. Otherwise, highs into the upper 40s. Tonight, any spotty showers diminishing, lows upper 30s. For Monday, mostly cloudy but a little drier, highs near 45. More sunshine for Tuesday. What did Jesus mean when he commanded us to be ready? Find out in Looking Up, Living in Anticipation of Christ, a book by local author Eddie Turner, available now at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. And I'm Soren Keaton, Chief Meteorologist, Pastor 4.
Nuga Radio 92.7.
Oh, it can happen to anyone. Flat tire, overheated engine, or just a clackety-clacking. Now you're on the side of the road. No worries, because Doug Yates Towing and Recovery is there 24 hours a day for you. That's right, 24-hour-a-day emergency roadside assistance. And you don't have to accept who your insurance company or your road assistance provider sends you. At Doug Yates Towing and Recovery, we want you off the road as safely and soon as possible. So they'll be there in a jiffy. Doug Yates Towing and Recovery with 24-hour emergency roadside service. Call 800-407-2371. That's 800-407-2371. Online, yatesrecord.com. That's yatesrecord.com. On Facebook at Doug Yates Towing and Recovery, LLC. Doug Yates Towing and Recovery. We don't want your arms and legs, just your toes. Doug Yates Towing and Recovery is a Nuga Radio 92.7 First Responder Friday sponsor. To our first responders, Doug Yates Towing and Recovery says thank you.
Nuga Radio, Digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM knows your opinion is important. So call 800-8949. Agree or disagree? Call 423-800-8949. 800-8949. Nuga Radio, 92.7 FM and 95.3 HD4. News Talk Nuga Radio.
Hey folks, Jeff Stiles here, talk radio host and infamous technophobe. But I got to tell you, this Facebook Live that Nuga Radio does, it makes sense to me. It really does. Now, we're at 92.7 on the FM dial, but really where you need to go is nugaradio.com and just do the streaming audio, 8 to 10 a.m. The first hour is mostly just me just throwing commentary on top of the news. The second hour is me frustrating and irritating you beyond all belief. nugaradio.com. Don't miss it. Every weekday.
Nuga Radio 92.7.
Radio station, they really care. They've gotten business off the ads.
Prices were very fair. Your radio station is able to help us out, and I really appreciate that.
We've been very pleased with the services we've got, and we've been very impressed with the creativity of the ads that we've heard.
We've been doing business with News Talk Radio for quite some time. It's the best place and the best value you can get for your advertisement.
The commercial that they put together was awesome. It was way far above all the other radio stations we've dealt with. The best we've had yet, guarantee you.
The Tennessee Valley's News Talk leader, Nuga Radio, 92.7 FM.
Wow, Triumph Spitfire. I haven't seen one of those in ages. Boy, is it gorgeous.
Thanks. It was my grandfather's. Drives like a dream.
Where do you go to keep it up?
Rivermont Pure. I never thought I'd find a place, but they specialize in older and European cars. They get the hard-to-find parts and treat me right every time.
Rivermont Pure?
Yeah, they're on Hickson Pike across from Lupton Drive. I found them online at rivermontpureservice.com.
Rivermont Pure. Import or domestic. If it rolls, they work it.
Nuga Radio. Are you brain dead? Still voting for pathetic liberals? Take 3 hours of Sean Hannity from 3 to 6.
Nuga Radio.
Then call us in the morning between 9 and 11.
92.7.
Nuga Radio.
Nuga Radio.
Roar into Talladega.
Hello? Who am I speaking with? Eric. You're our winner. Really?
You'll receive tickets for all 3 races between the Camping World Truck Series, Xfinity Series, and the Monster Energy Cup races.
Holy cow.
In addition, you'll receive a 2-night stay at the Microtel Hotel and restaurant accommodations at 2 area restaurants.
Nuga Radio.
Roar into Talladega.
Nuga Radio.
92.7.
Your NASCAR racing station. Nuga Radio 92.7 FM.
Nuga Radio. 92.7.
Hello, Chattanooga. You're listening to All New Nuga Radio, NugaRadio.com here on 92.7 FM. The show is Clutch with Keon Rose. Thank you for joining me today, making me just a small part of your day. You know that I appreciate you. Thank you for listening, however you may be listening, whether you're listening to us on Facebook Live or streaming us live on YouTube, as we always do, or if you're just checking us out on the radio, 92.7 FM. So here's the deal. Here's the deal. Here's what it is. Alabama has a problem. And it's a problem it's kind of a good problem. Your problem is essentially the problem of you're too good. Right? And yet you have to be as good as Alabama for as long as Alabama for this to really be a problem. And we're actually seeing this problem in the NFL too with the New England Patriots because they are the Patriots. I mean, they are the NFL's Alabama. The Patriots and Alabama, I mean, that's the same concept, essentially, right? Which is that the turnover is so high with these coaching staffs that eventually you suffer. And Alabama has had a large number of coaches take off and go in a number of different directions. Right, like Alabama coaches are picked essentially every year. Tennessee's got an Alabama coach. Georgia's got an Alabama coach. And so on and so forth. Nick Saban has a very extensive coaching tree. Whether or not you believe that the people who come from that coaching tree are, in fact, successful long-term, you know, the people are going to try. People are going to try and steal some of that Saban magic. Understandable. I get it. But Alabama at this point is losing coordinators. They're losing Jalen Hurts, who is a quarterback for them, who's a very good player for them. And we've seen at least one instance where Tua's gotten injured, and it was nice to have Jalen. Most teams don't get 2 guys of that caliber at the quarterback position on their roster. Alabama's got 2. Most teams don't even get 1. One of those guys is difficult. Right? So Dan Enos, quarterback's coach for Alabama, taken by Miami. He's going to be the offensive coordinator for Manny Diaz. And, oh, would you look at that? Jalen Hurts might be following him on down to Miami. Because it's easy to take from Alabama. There's a lot of ways to lose when you're a team that good. And when you've got a target on your back that big. There's a lot of ways to lose. Most of the ways in which you can lose don't happen during the regular season. I got the chance to talk to a lot of Alabama fans this year. And what Alabama fans would tell me is, well, we're not really watching a lot of interesting games. We'd like some of these games to be closer because Alabama fans have the right to be bored. I promise you, I don't understand that. You don't get to be this good forever. Enjoy every steamrolling that comes your direction. Every single one. Alabama fans are bored because they're not losing during the regular season, and they're not seeing where they're really losing. You're losing in the offseason, and it's a credit to Nick Saban that he's been this successful this long while everyone is taking his coaches from his staff and taking his coordinators. Every single year, he loses an offensive or a defensive coordinator or both, or a quarterback's coach like he just lost there. I mean, he loses coordinators and coaches all the time. At some point, that turnover catches up to you. And it's easier for players to transfer now than it used to be. So Jalen Hurts is gone too. So you lose a quality backup in Jalen Hurts. I mean, beyond a quality backup, he's a starting caliber player who happens to be a backup for you. You lose him, you lose your quarterback's coach, who's done a very good job developing both guys. You've lost offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators. Alabama, this is tough. And here's the issue. You don't really see it during the regular season. They're still recruiting at a high level because Nick Saban only hires guys who can recruit, and he himself is a great recruiter. And you don't really see it play out until you run into Clemson. You know, until you run into Georgia. I mean, that's a game that Alabama could easily have lost. When you start to run into these higher level schools, the stability that they have that you don't have makes a difference. They get to keep their coordinators. They get to keep their coaches. You don't. All your guys are getting picked off. And look, if they're successful long enough, they're going to have this problem too. And it's a good problem. You're so good, people want your coaches. Okay? As much as you feel like this is a problem, Bama fans, that you really need to go home and stay up all night about, stressing about, it really isn't. You know how many schools would like to have that problem? And this is what I'm talking about with Alabama. Alabama fans don't have real problems. They have problems. They're problems. They're not real problems. Problems that happen as a result of you being good and dominant forever. These are not real problems. Games are boring. Oh, boo flipping who? Oh. And here's the thing. Because of Alabama and how good that school expects to be, if Nick Saban has another season that ends like this, say we get Alabama Clemson 5 for whatever reason, because Trevor Lawrence isn't going anywhere, you guys. Trevor Lawrence is the real deal. If Alabama rolls up on Clemson next year and gets beaten again, Nick Saban might be on the hot seat. Alabama has a year where they struggle a little bit, make the playoff, lose in the first round. Nick Saban might be on the hot seat. Which is crazy. Because if any other coach had the run that Nick Saban had at any other school, you wouldn't believe how long that guy could hang on to a job. Let me tell you something. I'm a Texas fan. Texas had Mac Brown. Mac Brown won one national title. And Texas couldn't fire Mac Brown. Texas is another school where they expect to win all the time. Mac Brown won one national title. And honestly, was Mac Brown a great coach, or did Mac Brown have Vince Young? Because I think it was because he had Vince Young. He had one national title. Texas couldn't fire the guy. If Nick Saban has back-to-back seasons where he doesn't come away with the national title, you got Bama fans sitting back going, oh, boy, I think he's losing his touch. Hey, guys, I think he's lost it finally. God forbid Nick Saban doesn't make a playoff. That's the only school where you could win as much as Saban has won, where you could be as successful as he's been. And it's stupid how successful he's been. Right? And we could really seriously talk about, well, Nick Saban could wind up on the hot seat. If they have another loss in a postseason that looked like that loss against Clemson, Nick Saban might seriously have to consider getting another job. Never mind, who are you replacing that guy with? How do you replace Nick Saban? And who do you replace him with? Who's better than that in college football right now? Who's better than that? It's impossible. And that's the only school, and that's the only fan base where that's an actual discussion you get to have. Isn't that crazy? This college football is crazy. College football is absolutely nuts. You're listening to All New Nuga Radio, NugaRadio.com here on 92.7 FM. Thank you for joining us today. Clutch with Keon Rose. Ron, 11-1 on an NFL Sunday. We're going to give you some picks in the last segment of the show. But before we get to that, I do want to shift gears here and talk about Georgia. They have promoted James Coley to offensive coordinator after losing Jim Chaney to Tennessee. Lost Jim Chaney to Tennessee because, of course, Jeremy Pruitt is a flat-out gangster and just poached him away. He just took Jim Chaney. Hey, look, Jeremy Pruitt knows what he wants his identity to be. Jeremy Pruitt wants to be Mr. Ground and Pound. And Jim Chaney's the coach, right? Georgia had arguably the best rushing attack in the nation last year and has had, since he's been there, Jim Chaney has had great rushing attacks. He's also a very smart coordinator who knows how to coach to the strengths of his team. I'm a huge fan and a huge proponent of that. The issue that I have with Georgia promoting James Coley to offensive coordinator is, of course, that wasn't their first choice. That wasn't their first choice. And I understand you very often don't hire your first choice. Okay. So, does anybody marry the first person they date? Some of us do. Some people get lucky and it happens. Some people, it takes a few tries. All right. You have to meet some people. You have to go through the process. I understand that. Not everybody is everybody's first choice. But Georgia just had their lack of first choice. Manny Diaz just bolted. They wanted him. He got to be head coach in Miami. I mean, they wanted other guys. Then they wound up promoting from within, which again just feels like you just took what the world gave you. You couldn't convince anybody to come to Georgia. You're losing a lot of offensive players and you're losing a lot of offensive talent. Nobody wants to go when you're losing talent, right? Nobody wants to go there. Nobody wants to do that. It's been a rough stretch for Georgia. We talked about this a little bit on the Breakfast Blitz with Nick LaFew every Saturday from 8 to 10. Nick LaFew does a great job getting into college sports. And I join him on the show, usually from the second segment onwards. And we were talking about this a little bit yesterday. Georgia's just had a rough go of 2019. Georgia just wants to hit the redo button on the entire year. Because there's nothing worse than, first, you make a gigantic stink about how the 4 best teams in the nation should include you. Then you get pounded by a Big 12 school. And I mean actually pounded. They ran the ball down your throat, which I should point out is not how Big 12 schools play football. And SEC fans thought, wow, Texas beat Georgia. Isn't that a good Texas squad? That's not how they play. They throw the ball a whole lot more. They ran the ball down your gullet. And did so repeatedly and with glee. I mean, you just got steamrolled by a Big 12 school playing physical smash mouth football, which is not what they do. And that was day one of the year. Then, not long after that, Tennessee basketball, because Tennessee basketball is apparently a thing now. I mean, Tennessee's had good basketball in the past, but they're the best team in the SEC, and you could make a very strong argument that Tennessee is a top 3 program in the nation in basketball right now. Right now. I mean, that's a very strong argument you get to make. They are absolutely incredible. They played Georgia and handed them their butts on a platter. You beat them by 46. And this is a Georgia school last year. I mean, we were talking about Georgia being on the rise in the SEC. Yeah, no. I mean, they haven't been good this year, but this is a rivalry game. You want to show up? You want to be involved in this at all? Certainly doesn't feel like it. Georgia just got crushed by Tennessee. In fairness, Tennessee's crushing a lot of people. But man, when they catch you to the tune of 46, I mean, that's embarrassing. That's one of those where you're a player out on the floor and you see the 46-point beatdown coming. You start grabbing the hammy. Coach, I don't think I can. I don't know if I can work this one out. You're going to have to send me back there so the trainers can work on it. Because I am not going to be on the floor to catch a 46-point beatdown from a conference rival. It's not going to happen. And now you get Tennessee poaches your offensive coordinator. You try and hire the coordinator from Kentucky. Can't have him. You got your eye on a few other guys. Can't have them. And then you wind up as a sort of last resort promoting from within. And you're going to do all right. But that's not what you wanted. And if you're a Georgia fan, you don't get to spin this to make it seem like this is what you wanted all along. You don't get to spin this. This is bad. Right? Like this is you're kind of in crisis mode right now. But also, we're going to find out how good a coach Kirby Smart really is. I like Kirby. I think Kirby is a very good coach. But is Kirby a great coach? Is Kirby an elite coach? He's done half the job well. Kirby's recruited very well. He's losing a lot of talent, but he recruited very well. The issue is Kirby, the guys that Kirby recruits, do they play the kind of football he wants them to play? Can they continue moving forward and not miss a beat? Or is there a step back for Georgia this year? We don't know. But the East is not going to be as easy as it has been since he's been there. Kirby Smart benefited from two things when he got to be the coach of Georgia. One, he took from Mark Richt, who is himself a fantastic recruiter, a very, very, very good football team. So that's one. And then two, he's benefited from the fact that the SEC East, not a whole lot going on. Caught Tennessee on a downturn. Caught Florida on a downturn. Not a whole lot going on. None. I can't explain why. It's pretty crazy. Tennessee's going to be back. Not next year, but they're going to be a little harder to beat next year. And this is what Kirby Smart's about to find out. Every year, Tennessee and Florida specifically, they're going to be a little harder to beat and a little harder to beat. Until one day, some of these games are going to be good, thrilling games. And then what? we're going to have some absolute stunners. And then what? Really thrilling games. And then they might even beat you. Now what? I mean, you have to prepare for this eventuality. The East is not going to be this week forever. It's not possible. And you see the coaches that are there. Dan Mullen is not a good recruiter, but Dan Mullen's a heck of a football coach. Florida was leaps and bounds better than I thought they were going to be this year. As was Tennessee. Tennessee underachieved a lot. But they absolutely made strides to being a very, very good quality football team. They absolutely did. And you're Kirby Smart. You have talent going to the NFL. You have teams, rivals, poaching your offensive coordinators and coaches. Right? Saban has dealt well with it for a very long time. We'll see how Kirby Smart deals with it. We're about to find out exactly how good a coach Kirby Smart is. We're going to find out how good a coach he is. And we'll see whether or not he can stand up to the test. I mean, he's had a good first couple of years. Is he the real deal now that he's got his own guys in there? We'll see. Fresh with Keon Rose on Nuga Radio 92.7 FM.
Traffic, news, and information. Nuga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM.
3, 2, 1.
Chatta, Nuga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4. 92.7 FM's news now.
The plane that went down in Chickamauga Lake in Saudi Daisy was recovered by crews working for the insurance company of the pilot, Frank Davey. His funeral services are set for Tuesday this week. The remains of the plane were taken to a secure location so the NTSB can investigate to determine the cause of the crash. The Chattanooga Police Department revealed it's been looking for a bank robber since Monday. It happened at Gumbarrel Road at the BB&T. Reports say he changed his appearance after the bank robbery, getting a haircut and shaving his beard. We've posted his photo on our Facebook page. If you recognize him, call the cops. A family of 5 is going to have to stay somewhere else after a fire on Faust Street displaced them. Damages done to the home tallied up to about $20,000. It happened just after 9 p.m. on Saturday. Crews say that repairs are possible and an investigation is underway. Russell Stroud, Nuga Radio News Talk 92.7 Action News now.
Sean Hannity, weekday afternoons from 3 to 6 p.m. on Nuga Radio 92.7 FM.
Nuga Radio 92.7. Nuga Radio, Chattanooga weather.
Expect a cloudy, damp, and chilly start to your Sunday with some drizzle or a little patchy light shower. Otherwise, highs into the upper 40s. Tonight, any spotty showers diminishing, lows upper 30s. For Monday, mostly cloudy but a little drier, highs near 45. More sunshine for Tuesday. What did Jesus mean when he commanded us to be ready? Find out in Looking Up, Living in Anticipation of Christ, a book by local author Eddie Turner, available now at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. And I'm Soren Gene 12, Chief Meteorologist, Pat Report.
Nuga Radio 92.7.
Have a car wreck in Tennessee? Why hire an Alabama billboard lawyer for your car wreck? You'll never, ever meet that guy. Warren and Griffin work here, live here. You get to know them. You have a car wreck? Call Warren and Griffin. 265-4878, 265-4878. And let me tell you, they've got a killer thing going on right now, the hands-free Tennessee petition to save lives and make our roads safer. Put down your cell phones and just drive.
The rumors are true. We've opened a Starbucks at 10 North, 20 Cherokee Boulevard on the North Shore. And we're more than just what we brew. We're your new North Shore neighborhood living room, a gathering place, a part of your daily routine. With a warm atmosphere, a spacious patio, convenient complimentary parking, and a full Starbucks food and beverage menu, including the new Nitro Cold Brew. We're a coffee experience, and we make sure everything we do is through the lens of community and contributing value to our vibrant neighborhood. Open daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. We look forward to serving you. Starbucks North Shore, inspiring and nurturing the human spirit, one person, one cup, and one neighborhood at a time. Starbucks at 10 North on the North Shore. Locally owned and operated by Vision Hospitality Group.
If your computer is running slow, if you have viruses, if someone called you asking to get into your computer, just say no. If a screen pops up on your computer saying your data is going to be deleted and you have to call this number, don't call it. You need to call Affordable Computers. You wouldn't invite a stranger to come into your house to look at all your books and records, so why would you invite someone to look at your records on your computer? With one wrong click of the mouse, you could be allowing access into your entire system. At Affordable Computers, we can stop them now. Don't be fooled by scammers and pop-ups that tell you you must call this number or your hard drive is going to be deleted. You need to call Affordable Computers. Call Affordable Computers now. Microsoft is never going to call you. Microsoft is never going to ask you to call them. If you see that on your screen, you are being scammed. Stop and call Affordable Computers. 423-499-1975. That's 423-499-1975. In Fort Oglethorpe, call 706-858-5888. That's 706-858-5888. Affordable Computers.
Even if you like your job, there are some things that can drive you nuts. Like the anonymous coward who steals your lunch from the break room fridge. Or maybe Tyler, the IT guy, who gives you that condescending look when you tell him that your computer is acting up again, as if somehow it's your fault. You put up with these clowns every single day. But what happens when you've had enough? That's the day you decide to retire. At least that's the hope, right? But will you be able to retire? Can you afford to retire? That's why you need to talk to Ron and Christy Adams at One Family Financial. They can't do anything about Cody, that moron who heats up fish in the microwave.
CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Quicken Loans.
I'm Gary Nunn. President Trump, according to the Washington Post, reportedly has gone to great lengths to keep details of his conversations with Russian President Vladimir Putin under wraps. U.S. officials are saying there's no detailed record, even in classified files, of his talks with Putin at 5 locations over the past 2 years. Virginia Democratic Senator Mark Warner on CNN State of the Union.
He broke all protocol, where normally these meetings you bring in top aides so that there is some record so you can have the appropriate follow-up.
The president was asked about a 2-hour July meeting in Helsinki with Putin with only their translators present.
It was a great conversation. I'm not keeping anything under wraps. I couldn't care less. I mean, it's so ridiculous.
Trump on Fox. House Republicans quashed an attempt by Democrats to subpoena Mr. Trump's interpreter in Helsinki. 23 days into the partial government shutdown, South Carolina Republican Senator Lindsey Graham is pessimistic about a compromise.
I think the legislative path is just about shut off because Nancy Pelosi, the leader of the House, said, even if you open up the government, I'll give you $1 for the wall. As long as that's the case, we're never going to get a legislative package.
Graham on Fox News Sunday says he would like to see the president temporarily open the government before moving to declare a national emergency as leverage to get funding for a border wall. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo says today that once American forces have left Syria, it will not diminish U.S. power in the region.
The absence of a couple thousand soldiers on the ground in Syria in no way materially diminishes the capacity of the United States of America and our amazing armed forces to deliver American power to accomplish our objectives anywhere in the world.
Secretary Pompeo on CBS's Face the Nation. The winter storm that sliced through the country's midsection continues to cause problems as it moves eastward toward the Atlantic. Jacob Weaver is in southern Maryland.
It's coming down steady out there, about 6 inches. It's covered all the trees.
I'm Jim Crisula. Heavy snow and ice have cut power and heat to nearly 250,000 utility customers in Kansas, Missouri, North Carolina, and Virginia. Half of those outages are in North Carolina, where the northwestern part of the state has been hit hard by a major ice storm.
And that storm is expected to move into the Atlantic later today. Shirley Boone, the wife of singer Pat Boone, has died. A philanthropist, she helped establish Mercy Corps, an international charitable organization. Shirley Boone was 84. At the movies this weekend, Tops is The Upside, starring Kevin Hart, which did $19.6 million worth of business. This is CBS News.
National mortgage lender Quicken Loans. Apply simply, understand fully, mortgage confidently. Licensed in all 50 states, equal housing lender, NMLS number 3030.
This is big. Hurry to Macy's for thousands of markdowns on great styles for you, your family, and your home. Plus, take an extra 20 or 15% off with your Macy's card or pass. And save 50 to 85% on tons of clearance finds in Last Act, where the price you see is the price you pay. This is big. Now through Sunday at Macy's. Savings on original and sale prices, exclusions apply. Macy's Star Rewards now offers perks everyone can love no matter how they pay. Sign up for free in-store or at Macys.com/Star Rewards.
I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's premier home purchase lender. We've created a new way to protect you from unpredictable interest rates. Our exclusive Rate Shield approval. First, we lock your interest rate for up to 90 days. Then, if rates go up, your rate stays locked. But if rates go down, your rate drops. Either way, you win. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year fixed-rate loans. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply.
Football referee Sarah Thomas today logs another first. CBS News correspondent Dana Jacobson.
Sunday will mark the third playoff showdown between Patriots quarterback Tom Brady and his Chargers counterpart Phillip Rivers. But it will be another first for Thomas, who was also the first female to officiate a college bowl game before getting tapped for the NFL.
It doesn't matter what game it is. Everything is important to those coaches and to those players.
When people describe Sarah Thomas, they should say what?
Driven, happy.
Dana Jacobson, CBS News, New York.
A ban on allowing felons in Iowa to vote reportedly has rejected some ballots by legitimate voters. A Des Moines Register investigation in 6 counties in the state finds the ballots of more than 24 voters have been wrongly discounted since 2017, including 20 in the November midterms. According to the investigation, the names mistakenly appeared on the felon list circulated by the state. Gary Nancy.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4. 92.7 FM's news now.
The plane that went down in Chickamauga Lake in Saudi Daisy was recovered by crews working for the insurance company of the pilot, Frank Davey. His funeral services are set for Tuesday this week. The remains of the plane were taken to a secure location so the NTSB can investigate to determine the cause of the crash. The Chattanooga Police Department revealed it's been looking for a bank robber since Monday. It happened at Gun Barrel Road at the BB&T. Reports say he changed his appearance after the bank robbery, getting a haircut and shaving his beard. We've posted his photo on our Facebook page. If you recognize him, call the cops. A family of 5 is going to have to stay somewhere else after a fire on Fowl Street displaced them. Damages done to the home tallied up to about $20,000. It happened just after 9 p.m. on Saturday. Crews say that repairs are possible and an investigation is underway. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News Talk 92.7 Action News now.
Chattanooga Morning News with Russ and Val. Weekdays from 6 to 9 a.m. on Nooga Radio 92.7 FM.
Nooga Radio, Chattanooga weather.
Expect a cloudy, damp, and chilly start to your Sunday with some drizzle or a little patchy light shower. Otherwise, highs into the upper 40s. Tonight, any spotty showers diminishing, lows upper 30s. For Monday, mostly cloudy, but a little drier, highs near 45. More sunshine for Tuesday. What did Jesus mean when he commanded us to be ready? Find out in Looking Up, Living in Anticipation of Christ, a book by local author Eddie Turner, available now at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. And I'm Storm Team 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Moore.
Nooga Radio 92.7.
Hey folks, Jeff Stiles here, talk radio host and infamous technophobe. But I got to tell you, this Facebook Live that Nooga Radio does, it makes sense to me. It really does. Now, we're at 92.7 on the FM dial, but really where you need to go is NoogaRadio.com and just do the streaming audio, 8 to 10 a.m. The first hour is mostly just me just throwing commentary in on top of the news. The second hour is me frustrating and irritating you beyond all belief. NoogaRadio.com. Don't miss it every weekday.
Nooga Radio 92.7.
Hello, Chattanooga. You're listening to all new Nooga Radio, NoogaRadio.com here on 92.7 FM. The show is Clutch with Keon Rose. Thank you for joining me today. You know that I appreciate you, no matter how it is you may be listening, whether you're following us on YouTube, streaming on YouTube, or streaming us on Facebook Live. We do that also. All 2 hours of the show. This is the start of the second hour. We've got some big-time NFL games going on. The Patriots hosting the San Diego Chargers. That game is going to be absolutely fascinating. More interesting game than you think. And then, of course, a little later on, the Saints in the Dome hosting the Eagles. And it's going to be a situation where the Saints haven't played their best football in the last few weeks. They haven't. And Nick Foles, for whatever reason, is a playoff titan. And I don't know if that's enough to take Drew Brees and the Saints out with the way that they have been able to play at home. So that we've got a couple of very interesting games. The last segment of the show, which is, roughly 20-ish minutes from now, we're going to do the picks. I'm going to let you know who's winning and who's losing. I'll even let you know who's going to cover and who's not. My issue here is don't take gambling advice from me. I'm being upfront with this. You will lose your shirt. I don't recommend it. Before we get to any of that stuff, though, Steve Sarkisian is having a rough go of it. He is interviewing with Alabama for a return to the Crimson Tide. Right? He interviewed for the offensive coordinator spot. There were reports that he was going to be on Cliff Kingsbury's staff and in Arizona with the Cards, and he's not doing that anymore. He's going to go, or he's going to try to go back to Alabama and coach under Saban again. Didn't really coach under Saban that long. In fact, Steve Sarkisian leaving Alabama to go to the NFL is one of the more confusing things that happened after that national title game, because I thought he did a pretty good job. And if he wanted the offensive coordinator job at Alabama, it would have been his. It would have been his. I understand that you take your shot at the NFL if you can, but Steve Sarkisian is a very brilliant college coach, and what he did never translated for the Falcons. And now, if you want to take your shot on a Cliff Kingsbury staff where you'd probably be unleashed and be able to do a whole lot of crazy stuff that you want to try and do, it doesn't even look good because, how do you explain a team like the Falcons, loaded as they are, Calvin Ridley, Julio Jones? I understand that they had injuries at the running back position, but still Tevin Coleman's a very good running back. How do you explain what the Falcons were offensively? In your second year, they haven't gotten any better. And in fact, it looks like they took a step back. He didn't do himself any favors by going to the NFL. And I'm still confused as to why. Steve Sarkisian trying to get the offensive coordinator job at Alabama. I suspect he'd get it. He's shown what he can do at the college level. And in that national title game where they were beaten by Clemson, that wasn't Steve's fault. I thought Sarkisian did all the things that he could do, and he did so with Jalen, Jalen Hurts is very stoppable in a national title situation. When you're going up against the other best team in the nation, you can take away what Jalen Hurts does. But I thought Steve Sarkisian did a really good job of using trick plays at just the right times to keep Alabama in a game and actually had a chance to win the game long enough. I think he would be perfect for Alabama, quite frankly. I'd get him out the NFL. It's a good job by Cliff Kingsbury not to hire Steve Sarkisian. You're listening to All New Nuga Radio, NugaRadio.com here on 92.7 FM. The show is Clutch with Keon Rose. But let's go over to Cliff Kingsbury in Arizona real quick, because I don't like that hire. And everyone is trying to find the next Sean McVay, and it's weird. It's strange. Sean McVay was a revelation. I have had at least the pleasure in having Sean McVay be on the coaching staff with the Redskins. He was the offensive coordinator with the Redskins for a while, and honestly can tell you that Sean McVay is an actual genius. When people refer to Sean McVay as a boy wonder, they're not joking. He has a photographic memory. And if you ask Sean McVay what play the Redskins ran 4 years ago when he was offensive coordinator, and you tell him what game and what quarter and what time, he could tell you what play. So when I say that Sean McVay is an actual football genius, I'm not using the term lightly. But the thing about genius is that there's usually only like one of those guys. It's rare. Everybody's not a genius. And Cliff Kingsbury is definitely not a genius, right? But he's young, and he runs an air raid, and he likes to throw the ball a lot, and pretty good looking guy. I don't know. Like those are that's the list of things. Those are the list of things that make somehow Cliff Kingsbury in any way related to Sean McVay. And also, this also happens in the NFL, where if you have been anywhere near a quarterback who is great, we try to find you. We try to figure out whether or not you're Cesar Millan, the quarterback whisperer. We're trying to figure out is whether or not you can understand quarterbacks and know quarterbacks and fix quarterbacks. And Cliff Kingsbury once coached Patrick Mahomes. So somehow, that qualifies him to coach the Arizona Cardinals. And the reason why I find this profoundly annoying is not because I care about the Cardinals, because I honestly don't. It's just the worst football has come out of that team in the last few years. I feel so bad for Larry Fitzgerald. Don't care about the Cardinals, not one iota. But it's not just the Cardinals, right? The Packers hired Matt LaFleur because Matt LaFleur, apart from having a pretty good year with Tennessee last year, coached under Sean McVay the year before. My question is, why on earth do you think you'd need Sean McVay to coach Aaron Rodgers? You have Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, to me, when he's healthy, is the best quarterback in football. Wasn't healthy this past year, so it wasn't him. But when he's 100%, is there a better guy than Aaron Rodgers? If you have Aaron Rodgers, I would stand to argue you don't really need a genius offensive guy at head coach. Why would you hire a defensive guy? Peyton Manning is, to me, a guy that also doesn't need offensive coaching. If you're going to hire a head coach and you've got Peyton Manning as your quarterback, you hire the coach, and you let Peyton run the offense. You get the offensive coordinator, an offensive coordinator that can give him a second pair of eyes and really work with him, see him as a peer. Your head coach doesn't need to be an offensive guy. You don't need to fix Aaron Rodgers. You don't need to fix Peyton Manning. I believe that part of the reason why the relationship between Brady and Belichick works, as much as they're testy and they don't like each other all the time, is that Belichick's a defensive guy and Brady's the quarterback. If Belichick were an offensive guy, can you imagine how much more micromanaging would happen there? You don't need an offensive guy if your quarterback is already great. But somehow in our zeal to find Sean McVays for everywhere in the league, Matt LaFleur is a Packer, which doesn't make any sense. Cliff Kingsbury coaches the Cardinals, which makes even less sense because Cliff Kingsbury wasn't even a winner in college. Texas Tech was awful when he was the head coach. Oh, yeah, they'd score tons of points until they ran into a real defense. Yeah, they'd score lots. But do you think, honestly, that Cliff Kingsbury is going to have any level of success? Like I still to this day don't understand why they fired Wilkes in Arizona. There's nobody that could win with that roster. The Cardinals are just bad, flat out bad, top to bottom. They got some good performances out of Josh Rosen, rookie quarterback, but that defense is bad. That running game, even with David Johnson, was bad. Their offensive line is bad. Wide receivers bad. No one was going to win with that roster. How do you think that Cliff Kingsbury is going to help? Someone explain that to me. What does Cliff Kingsbury have that the last guy didn't. Because it's not a better scheme. It's not a winning track record. Cliff Kingsbury did all of nothing at Texas Tech. All of nothing. And it's bizarre. And then the other coaching hire that's confusing is Adam Gase to the Jets. And I understand, by the way, Adam Gase did a fantastic job of getting Jay Cutler to get the turnovers down. He got him down. But there wasn't a measure of winning that happened. And he's going to help Sam Darnold a bit because Sam Darnold is a turnover machine. He's a turnover machine with a better attitude. So on that aspect, that makes sense. That'll work for you. It's just stupid. We do not need young, plucky, upstart offensive coaches for every football team. And you look at the teams that are in the playoffs right now. What do all of these teams have in common? With the exception of the Chiefs. Right? The teams that played yesterday and today, Cowboys, Rams, Colts, Eagles, Saints, Chargers, Pats. What do they have in common? I'll tell you. Good defense, good defense, good defense, good defense, good defense, and good defense. That's what it takes. You still need defenses in the NFL. Yeah, if you have an elite offense, you're going far. The league favors offenses over defenses, but that doesn't mean you get to have a bad one. Chiefs, by the way, played very good defense yesterday. They had a good game plan. They held Andrew Luck in check. I mean, good for them. They did a really good job playing yesterday. Fantastic. And we'll see if they can keep that up because the Chiefs' defense hasn't looked anything like that all year. I mean, it hasn't even looked close. But you look at the Cowboys and the Rams, those are good. Those are a couple of good defenses. The Chargers and the Patriots, that's going to be a very interesting game. The Patriots have a terrible secondary, but their front seven is nice. The Chargers have one of the best defenses in the league, as do the Saints, though that's been an up and down proposition, and as do the Eagles, which is the only reason why the Eagles are here. Because it's not their ability to score points. I mean, you look at it from a long view. All of these teams have done an absolutely brilliant job defensively, with the exception of the Chiefs, until yesterday. The Chiefs decided that they wanted to be a defensive squad yesterday. You still need defense to win in this league. Why are we trying to put an offensive guy on every squad? It's insane. Right? And I know that the NFL's got the Rooney Rule. But most of these jobs were held by black coaches. And they all got fired. Right? I mean, the Rooney Rule is a nice, helpful rule, but apparently all these coaches just need to work for Sean McVay. That's really what it is. You work for Sean McVay, someone somewhere is going to hire you. Apparently. Listening to all new Nuga Radio, NugaRadio.com here on 92.7 FM. One of the things that the NFL is known for is its jealousy, because players are jealous of one another. They had a poll this past week about the most underrated and overrated quarterbacks in the league, and of course, Kirk Cousins, not even quarterbacks, players. Kirk Cousins was the most overrated player in the league. Kirk Cousins was the most overrated player in the league. Is Kirk Cousins actually the most overrated player in the league? Let's be honest. He isn't. He really isn't. Kirk Cousins is exactly what everybody thinks he is. There's nothing overrated about Kirk Cousins. But players don't perceive your rating as what we think you are. This is a players poll, mind you. Players don't perceive your rating as what we think it is. Players perceive your rating on what people pay you. Right. Players think the rating of a person is what they get paid. This is the reason why players fight for money. A lot of guys don't need that extra $1 million, $2 million. They're good. Players fight for money because that is a rating of how good you think they are. If I take less money and I think I'm worth more money, that means that you think I'm not any good, and that means I agree. That's why Julio Jones was fighting for more money last offseason. They really haven't fixed the problem. They more just kicked the can down the road. Right? They didn't really fix it. But look at how he dug his heels in there. Look at how Le'Veon Bell dug his heels in. I'm one of the best running backs in the league, if not the best running back in the league. You're going to pay me like it. Why? Because if I let you not pay me like one of the best running backs in the league, that means that you think I'm not that good. And if I accept that amount of money, that means I agree. And I don't agree. I mean, it's really hard for me to disagree with Le'Veon Bell there. It's really hard for me to disagree with Antonio Brown and the way that the Steelers situation's unfolded. Your value is how you let people treat you. So is Kirk Cousins overrated? Not as an actual football player. Kirk Cousins is rated just accurately. Kirk Cousins is rated just fine. We know what Kirk Cousins is. He's an average quarterback that's being paid a lot of money. But players don't see it that way. Players see your rating as what you're getting paid or how you let people treat you. That's if you value yourself, you wouldn't let people treat you poorly. That's just life. If you actually thought you were worth something, when people treat you poorly, you'd fight back a little bit. You wouldn't just let it happen. That's called life. Antonio Brown is in a situation where he's first off, he's in a Steelers organization run by Mike Tomlin. And Mike Tomlin runs a very loose ship. This is the biggest criticism of Mike Tomlin because Mike Tomlin is otherwise a fantastic coach. But he runs an impossibly loose ship where the quarterback is allowed to say all kinds of things about his teammates and no one tells him that's a bad idea. His teammates react very poorly in return. No one tells them that's a bad idea. Antonio Brown is Facebook Living after a win because he's Antonio Brown. And Mike Tomlin doesn't have the structure in that organization for anyone to know that's a bad idea. You've got players predicting wins in the playoffs and then not following through because no one's there to say that that's a bad idea. I mean, this whole Steelers situation has just turned absolutely upside down. Nothing works. And Mike Tomlin's part of the problem. The other issue, though, is like Mike Tomlin's a pretty good football coach. Mike Tomlin hasn't had a losing season. They've drafted very well. They develop players. They develop talent. It's not like Antonio Brown was a first rounder. He wasn't. Like this is a guy that's done a very good job as football coach. He just happens to also not be a very good disciplinarian. His team takes advantage of him and his kindness, and you've got to do something about that. Because you're about to ship out one guy, and another guy held out. So he wouldn't have to play for you. Because he thought you were going to put the miles on his body. And I noticed something. Mike Tomlin is a player's coach. Players are supposed to love him. But when Le'Veon Bell wanted more money and didn't report to camp, Le'Veon Bell wouldn't answer Mike Tomlin's phone calls. And Antonio Brown now is in a situation where he feels that the organization is siding with Big Ben, even though Big Ben is a jerk, and he's, colossal jerk, and we know this. The organization is siding with Big Ben And when Mike Tomlin tries to reach out, he's not answering his phone calls either. We're going to figure out who's winning these games today in the picks. Touch with Keon Rose next.
Traffic, news, and information. Nuga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM.
3, 2, 1.
Chatta, Nuga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4, 92.7 FM's news now.
The plane that went down in Chickamauga Lake in Saudi Daisy was recovered by crews working for the insurance company of the pilot, Frank Davey. His funeral services are set for Tuesday this week. The remains of the plane were taken to a secure location so the NTSB can investigate to determine the cause of the crash. The Chattanooga Police Department revealed it's been looking for a bank robber since Monday. It happened at Gumbarrel Road at the BB&T. Reports say he changed his appearance after the bank robbery, getting a haircut and shaving his beard. We've posted his photo on our Facebook page. If you recognize him, call the cops. A family of 5 is going to have to stay somewhere else after a fire on Fowl Street displaced them. Damages done to the home tallied up to about $20,000. It happened just after 9 p.m. on Saturday. Crews say that repairs are possible and an investigation is underway. Russell Stroud, Nuga Radio News Talk 92.7 Action News, now.
Expect a cloudy, damp, and chilly start to your Sunday with some drizzle or a little patchy light shower. Otherwise, highs into the upper 40s. Tonight, any spotty showers diminishing, lows upper 30s. For Monday, mostly cloudy but a little drier, highs near 45. More sunshine for Tuesday. What did Jesus mean when he commanded us to be ready? Find out in Looking Up, Living in Anticipation of Christ, a book by local author Eddie Turner, available now at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. And I'm Soren Gene 12, Chief Meteorologist, Patrick Moore.
Nuga Radio 92.7.
Oh, it can happen to anyone. Flat tire, overheated engine, or just a clackety-clack and now you're on the side of the road. No worries, because Doug Yates Towing and Recovery is there 24 hours a day for you. That's right, 24-hour-a-day emergency roadside assistance. And you don't have to accept who your insurance company or your road assistance provider sends you. At Doug Yates Towing and Recovery, we want you off the road as safely and soon as possible. So they'll be there in a jiffy. Doug Yates Towing and Recovery with 24-hour emergency roadside service. Call 800-407-2371. That's 800-407-2371. Online, yateswrecker.com. That's yateswrecker.com. On Facebook at Doug Yates Towing and Recovery, LLC. Doug Yates Towing and Recovery. We don't want your arms and legs, just your toes. Doug Yates Towing and Recovery is a Nuga Radio 92.7 First Responder Friday sponsor. To our first responders, Doug Yates Towing and Recovery says thank you.
Nuga Radio, Digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM knows your opinion is important. So call 800-8949. Agree or disagree? Call 423-800-8949. 800-8949. Nuga Radio, 92.7 FM and 95.3 HD4. News Talk Nuga Radio.
Hey folks, Jeff Stiles here, talk radio host and infamous technophobe. But I got to tell you, this Facebook Live that Nuga Radio does, it makes sense to me. It really does. Now, we're at 92.7 on the FM dial, but really where you need to go is nugaradio.com and just do the streaming audio, 8 to 10 a.m. The first hour is mostly just me just throwing commentary on top of the news. The second hour is me frustrating and irritating you beyond all belief. nugaradio.com. Don't miss it. Every weekday.
Nuga Radio 92.7.
Radio station, they really care. They've gotten business off the ads.
Prices were very fair. Your radio station is able to help us out, and I really appreciate that.
We've been very pleased with the services we've got, and we've been very impressed with the creativity of the ads that we've heard.
Been doing business with News Talk Radio for quite some time. It's the best place and the best value you can get for your advertisement.
The commercial that they put together was awesome. It was way far above all the other radio stations we've dealt with. The best we've had yet, guarantee you.
The Tennessee Valley's News Talk leader, Nuga Radio, 92.7 FM.
Wow, Triumph Spitfire. I haven't seen one of those in ages. Boy, is it gorgeous.
Thanks. It was my grandfather's. Drives like a dream.
Where do you go to keep it up?
Rivermont Pure. I never thought I'd find a place, but they specialize in older and European cars. They get the hard-to-find parts and treat me right every time.
Rivermont Pure?
Yeah, they're on Hickson Pike across from Lupton Drive. I found them online at rivermontpureservice.com.
Rivermont Pure. Import or domestic. If it rolls, they work it.
Nuga Radio. Are you brain dead? Still voting for pathetic liberals? Take 3 hours of Sean Hannity from 3 to 6.
Nuga Radio.
Then call us in the morning between 9 and 11.
92.7.
Nuga Radio.
Nuga Radio.
Or into Talladega.
Hello? Who am I speaking with? Eric, you're our winner.
Really?
You'll receive tickets for all 3 races between the Camping World Truck Series, Xfinity Series, and the Monster Energy Cup races.
Holy cow.
In addition, you'll receive a 2-night stay at the Microtel Hotel and restaurant accommodations at 2 area restaurants.
Nuga Radio.
Roar into Talladega.
Nuga Radio. 92.7.
Your NASCAR racing station. Nuga Radio 92.7 FM.
Nuga Radio. 92.7.
Hello, Chattanooga. You're listening to All New Nuga Radio, 92.7 FM. The show's Clutch with Keon Rose. Thank you for joining me today, making me just a small part of your day. You know that I appreciate you. Thank you for listening. However, you may be listening, whether you're streaming us on YouTube live or streaming us on Facebook live, or just listening to us on the radio in your car at 92.7 FM. We do appreciate you stopping by. So we've got a couple more playoff games today in the NFL. Chargers Patriots will get underway here in about half an hour. That game is set to kick off at 1:05. I just saw the line move on that game, so that's interesting. And then, of course, 4:40, the late game, Eagles visiting the Saints in the Superdome. And we're going to pick both of those games. But before I pick both of those games, I do want to give you one more observation about how playoff teams are built and how, if you're a Falcons fan or Titans fan, what that could mean for you. Because we keep talking about how defense is gone. Remember back in week 11 with the Rams and the Chiefs, and they played that impossible football game where they just kept scoring a billion bajillion points. They just kept, every time the Rams had the ball, they scored. Every time the Chiefs had the ball, they scored. They just kept going. And we thought, boy, this is the future of the league. Basketball on turf. Nobody plays any defense. And that's not what we're getting, right? The Chiefs yesterday and the Rams both punched their tickets to the conference title games. And they did it with defense. The Rams beat the Colts 31-13, and the Chiefs beat the Cowboys 30-22, but there was some garbage time scoring there from Dallas. Okay, Dallas didn't score any points in the second quarter, and LA beat them. Stayed on top, stayed ahead in that game. The defense played a huge part of that. We talked about the future of the league being, boy, they're just going to throw the ball all over the yard. Yesterday, what did the Chiefs do? They ran the ball. They had a lot of success on the ground, 129 yards from Damian Williams. What did the Rams do? The Rams had not one, but 2 100-yard rushers. C.J. Anderson, 123 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. And, of course, Todd Gurley added another 115 yards. Pounded Dallas, a very good front seven for the Dallas Cowboys, and they were powerless to stop Todd Gurley. They were powerless to stop C.J. Anderson, who's looking a little round these days. Can we talk about C.J. Anderson real quick? C.J. Anderson looking a little pudgy. Couldn't stop him. Couldn't stop him. As much as we think we know what the NFL is turning into, the fundamentals of the league are always going to matter. You're always going to need to run the ball. You're always going to need a good defense. In the postseason, you've got to pack one. Right? I don't know if the Chiefs can play good defense 2 weeks in a row. I haven't seen the Chiefs play play good defense 1 week in a row, much less 2. I haven't seen it. You know, I mean, maybe you can let me know what insight we've got going on there. I haven't seen the Chiefs play good defense all season long. And I'm not even talking about bend but don't break. That team gets broken constantly. The Rams have had up and down times. I mean, they haven't had as good a defense as they'd love to have, given the big name guys on their payroll. Given Ndamukong Suh, who suddenly looks 1,000 years old. Given Aaron Donald, who they were trying to get some help, and it looks like he doesn't have any help. Right? They went out and got big-time playmakers for the defensive side of the ball. Aqib Talib and so forth, and it hasn't necessarily panned out in that way, but it panned out yesterday against the Cowboys when they needed it. So I'm okay with that. But this is how you construct a team. This is how you build a squad. Right? Like you try and find what everyone else is not doing great, and you try and do that. Right? Everyone is doing offense fantastically in the league. Or almost everyone. Even the teams that are bad can still score. Right? It's an any given Sunday kind of deal. Even the worst teams in the league have offensive outbursts. The worst teams in the league don't all play good defense. The Falcons really suffered from not having a good defense. And they did have injuries and everything else, but also they suffered from just having a small defense. They've got to get bigger on that side of the ball, especially as far as their pass rushers go. They need to get big and physical. They need to get big and physical on the outside with those defensive backs. Dan Quinn benefited a lot in Seattle as the defensive coordinator because he had guys like Richard Sherman and Earl Bennett, right? And Cam Chancellor, who's enormous. Those were the guys in his secondary. In monsters in his secondary. I mean, this guy hasn't seen anything like his Seattle defense since he's gotten to Atlanta, and I hope they build it for him. We haven't seen the best of a Dan Quinn defense. We have no idea what that looks like in Atlanta. We've seen a very good defense, but we haven't seen an elite level defense. And I hope they build it for him. You know, and the Titans running the ball. Look, Derrick Henry's a fan favorite, especially after the game that he had earlier this year, where he basically stomped his entire way through the Jaguars defense. Like he was Godzilla walking through New York. I understand that. But overwhelmingly, Derrick Henry, before that game against the Jaguars, was averaging 3.5 yards a carry. He wasn't running the ball well. He wasn't very good. And at that point, you might want to consider going a different direction at running back. At least draft somebody to put some pressure on Derrick. Because your offense isn't going to thrive until you've got a running attack. The Rams, who've got one of the most prolific passing attacks in the league, didn't score a single passing touchdown all game. Jared Goff ran one. Right? Todd Gurley, C.J. Anderson. The passing game was there for them, but that wasn't their strength that day. Like, as much as you want to pass the ball, you've got to run. As much as you want to rely on offense, you have to have a defense. And I am confused. I am actually confused at the idea that you could somehow not have an elite level defense, have at least a good one. The Titans don't have that. The Falcons don't have that. A consistently good defense. The Titans have a great secondary. They don't have a consistently good upfront defense. Their pass rushing is weak. And as we know in football, your secondary is a lot of times only as good as your pass rush. The front end and the back end work together. You can't cover everybody forever. And the weeks that we got good good Tennessee Titans football, we also had a brilliant pass rush. They need to address that in the draft if they want to be a playoff team again. Oh, by the way, the AFC South is tough. The Jags aren't as good as they ought to be, but the Colts were brilliant when they finally got going, and the Texans were brilliant when they finally got going. They made the playoffs. You were at home. This is not going to get easier to do if you're the Titans. You've got to run the ball. You've got to play defense, or you're never going to help your young quarterback out. And you're not going anywhere in the postseason. You're just not. You're listening to All New Nuga Radio, NugaRadio.com here on 92.7 FM. So, 2 games today. The first game is Chargers-Patriots. The Chargers are 13-4. The Patriots are 11-5. That line was 4 in favor of the Patriots. It's now 3.5. I understand why. The Patriots are at home. I don't think anybody has any doubt that the Chargers are the better football team. But the Patriots are at home. And as the Patriots are at home, Patriots are difficult to beat at home. No one has more career postseason wins than Tom Brady at the quarterback position. Dude's got 27th, most all time. The Patriots dominate at home. They're hard to beat at home, especially in the playoffs. It's cold in Foxborough. Right? It's going to start at 27 degrees. And as this game goes on, it's going to get colder. Fortunately, it's not raining, so that shouldn't affect a whole lot. But it's unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable how cold it is up there. The Chargers are from Los Angeles. So this is not going to be a game that they love, even though they're running back Melvin Ingram. Melvin is, he played at Wisconsin. Melvin will be fine. This is a tough game to play. The Patriots, as I mentioned, very good at home. But you know what? This isn't an easy game to pick. The Chargers are road warriors. The Chargers, if you include the playoff game from last week against the Ravens, 8-1. 8-1 on the road this year. Right? That's a tough team to beat on the road, too. The Chargers do not mess around on the road. And here's the thing that's absolutely crazy. Phillip Rivers and Tom Brady, Phillip looks like the better quarterback this year. Right? In the battle of these two old dudes, Phillip looks like the much better quarterback. And you could look at the numbers and say, well, the Chargers have struggled in the last 4 weeks. But I should point out in the last 4 weeks that they played the Baltimore Ravens twice. And the Ravens have my favorite defense in the league. They're brutal. They're nasty. They're tough to play. They scheme well. And they trick you. I mean, they're very smart. The Chargers have played the Ravens twice. And if their numbers look down, that's because they've played the Ravens twice. You know what? The Patriots defense ain't the Ravens defense. The Patriots defense is distinctly lacking in secondary in a way that should be completely possible for the Chargers to take advantage of throughout the course of the day. Are they going to? I don't know. Tom Brady looks more like himself now than he did earlier in the year. The week off, I imagine, helped because when you're 40, any week off, any time off that you get, you will simply take. I get all of that as well. But Tom Brady hasn't looked good this year. As much as this is the most rested he's been, and this is the best he's looked. The last 4 games is the best stretch of Tom Brady we've gotten this season. He still doesn't look good. He still doesn't look right. He's not missing throws like he was early in the year, but his arm's not strong. His weapons aren't great. That offensive line's got problems. All of these things are adding up to a game that's going to be tough for New England to win, even though they're at home. I believe the Chargers win today, and I believe the Chargers win by 10 points. So the Chargers not only cover, the Chargers win. But they have the better team. They are more talented. Both sides of the ball. It's hard to pick against Tom Brady. It is hard to pick against Tom Brady. You know my rule. I don't usually pick against Tom Brady, but Tom Brady is 40. He looks 40, and that team has so many issues. It's got so many problems. I mean, am I supposed to honestly believe that Tom Brady is going to beat this San Diego defense that has stifled opponents? The Chargers are 13-4, but the Chargers are every bit 13-4, not just for what's happened offensively, but for what they've been able to do on the defensive side of the ball. The San Diego, Los Angeles Chargers are going to win today by 10. Book it. So that's game one. Game two, the Eagles go to the Superdome and take on the Saints. There's a lot going on in this game. Also, Nick Foles is the quarterback for the Eagles in the postseason. For whatever reason in the postseason, Nick Foles is a fantastic quarterback. Can't get him to play well in the regular season, but he's great in the postseason. But he didn't play well last week. They scored 16 points. We could overinflate what Nick Foles has managed to do. Last week against the Bears, he scored 16 points. This is not like this team has been a juggernaut with Nick Foles. And you're going up against the Saints team that hasn't looked like the best version of themselves. However, earlier in the year, when the Eagles played the Saints, Drew Brees and company put 48 points on them boys. Right? Dropped 48 on them. Which is wild to me. 48-7. Could that happen again? Maybe. This is a better Eagles team now than was then, but not by a whole heck of a lot. And this is a Saints team that when they get going, and they do have to get going because they haven't gotten going in the last few games that they've played. But when they get going, they are an absolute buzzsaw. Saints are my Super Bowl pick. I had Chiefs Saints. That was the Super Bowl that I've picked. And I see no reason why the Saints don't wind up there. Now, I don't have any guarantee that they beat the Rams, but I don't see how the Saints don't wind up there against the Eagles today. But we do have the coaches going all out, right? You got the Eagles that they come into the stadium, they wear ski masks, which is sure. I don't know what that's supposed to imply. Are they robbing a win? Are they stealing a win? Why the ski masks for the Philadelphia Eagles? But the Philadelphia Eagles show up with the ski masks, and then the Saints, Sean Payton showed up with a Brinks truck and $260,000 and a Super Bowl ring and a Lombardi trophy. And he told his players, he sat his players down in front of the trophy and the ring and all of that cash. And he said, you want this? You want this? Well, you win 3 more bleeping games. That's what he said. Now, to me, I don't think you need to motivate a bunch of other NFL players with money, with a bunch of cash right in front of their face. But there is something about having all of that cash right in front of your face. Is Sean Payton a great motivator? I don't know. I have no idea. But I don't think they're going to need a lot of motivation to beat the Eagles today. The line is 8.5, which sounds about right. The Eagles are going to fight today. They're not going to be beaten 48-7. Will they keep it close? I mean, they'll probably lose by double digits, but they're not going to be beaten by 47 or 48 or 48-7. I mean, they're going to play well. They're going to have good moments throughout the game, but the Saints defense found itself at some point late in the season. They played much better, and Nick Foles, he's not a good quarterback. Like, I don't know how else to say this. We want him to be. He won the Super Bowl last year, Super Bowl MVP. And if there was a story of a guy who's in a great position to become some kind of Super Bowl legend, because if Nick Foles and the Eagles get back to the Super Bowl, he'll be a backup quarterback having to start twice. And be clear, nobody is rooting against Nick Foles more than Carson Wentz. And you could say, well, he's being a bad teammate and all that stuff. And I don't know this. I don't know Carson Wentz personally. But can you imagine Carson Wentz being the de facto starting quarterback of that team? And every time this team has a chance to win a Super Bowl, Nick Foles is the quarterback. Can you imagine that? I can't even imagine how much Carson Wentz feels. I mean, Carson Wentz has got a lot of weight on his shoulders as a young man who's tried his best, his absolute best, to be available for his team, to come back from injury, to hang in there. And what's his reward? His backup gets a chance to play in the Super Bowl. Not once, but maybe twice. I mean, the Saints are going to give him the beatdown today, though. I mean, that's the thing. Like, as much as I want to make that a possibility, like, the Saints are giving him the business. But if you're the NFL, you know what you don't want? You don't want the Saints in the Super Bowl. A bunch of New Orleans fans showing up in Atlanta, yeah, there's no way that can't go poorly. Not at all. Why would you say something like that? Why would you think that that would go well? But we're talking about weapons all over the place for the Saints. Drew Brees, Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas. And as much as the Eagles have scrapped their way into the playoffs, and as much as they scrapped their way to a win last week, and they did scrap it, and they got some help, as much as they scrapped that, the fact of the matter is, they're just not that talented. Golden Tate is their best player. Golden Tate. They are injured. But that's why they're not winning. Listening to all new Nuga Radio, NugaRadio.com. You're on 92.7 FM. The show is Clutch with Keon Rose. Thank you for joining me today. Remember, folks, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Stay clutch. And I'll see you next week.
Traffic, news, and information. Nuga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4. 92.7 FM's news now.
The plane that went down in Chickamauga Lake in Saudi Daisy was recovered by crews working for the insurance company of the pilot, Frank Davey. His funeral services are set for Tuesday this week. The remains of the plane were taken to a secure location so the NTSB can investigate to determine the cause of the crash. The Chattanooga Police Department revealed it's been looking for a bank robber since Monday. It happened at Gumbarrel Road at the BB&T. Reports say he changed his appearance after the bank robbery, getting a haircut and shaving his beard. We've posted his photo on our Facebook page. If you recognize him, call the cops. A family of 5 is going to have to stay somewhere else after a fire on Faust Street displaced them. Damages done to the home tallied up to about $20,000. It happened just after 9 p.m. on Saturday. Crews say that repairs are possible and an investigation is underway. Russell Stroud, Nuga Radio News Talk 92.7 Action News now.
Sean Hannity, weekday afternoons from 3 to 6 p.m. on Nuga Radio 92.7 FM.
Nuga Radio 92.7. Nuga Radio, Chattanooga weather.
Expect a cloudy, damp, and chilly start to your Sunday with some drizzle or a little patchy light shower. Otherwise, highs into the upper 40s. Tonight, any spotty showers diminishing, lows upper 30s. For Monday, mostly cloudy, but a little drier, highs near 45. More sunshine for Tuesday. What did Jesus mean when he commanded us to be ready? Find out in Looking Up, Living in Anticipation of Christ. A book by local author Eddie Turner, available now at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. And I'm Soren Gene 12, Chief Meteorologist, Pastor 4.
Nuga Radio 92.7.
Your home is a constant work in progress. Repaint the walls? Yeah, easy enough. Leaky faucet? There's a video for that. But roof repair? You might want some help. That's where Chattanooga Roofing Contractors come in. They have 3 generations of roofing excellence you can count on. Leave the ladder in the garage. Go to chatroofing.com. That's chatroofing.com for Chattanooga Roofing Contractors, a roofing company you can trust.
The rumors are true. We've opened a Starbucks at 10 North, 20 Cherokee Boulevard on the North Shore. And we're more than just what we brew. We're your new North Shore neighborhood living room, a gathering place, a part of your daily routine, with a warm atmosphere, a spacious patio, convenient complimentary parking, and a full Starbucks food and beverage menu, including the new Nitro Cold Brew. We're a coffee experience, and we make sure everything we do is through the lens of community and contributing value to our vibrant neighborhood. Open daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. We look forward to serving you. Starbucks North Shore, inspiring and nurturing the human spirit, one person, one cup, and one neighborhood at a time. Starbucks at 10 North on the North Shore. Locally owned and operated by Vision Hospitality Group.
If your computer is running slow, if you have viruses, if someone called you asking to get into your computer, just say no. If a screen pops up on your computer saying your data is going to be deleted and you have to call this number, don't call it. You need to call Affordable Computers. You wouldn't invite a stranger to come into your house to look at all your books and records, so why would you invite someone to look at your records on your computer? With one wrong click of the mouse, you could be allowing access into your entire system. At Affordable Computers, we can stop them now. Don't be fooled by scammers and pop-ups that tell you must call this number or your hard drive is going to be deleted. You need to call Affordable Computers. Call Affordable Computers now. Microsoft is never going to call you. Microsoft is never going to ask you to call them. If you see that on your screen, you are being scammed. Stop and call Affordable Computers. 423-499-1975. That's 423-499-1975. In Fort Oglethorpe, call 706-858-5888. That's 706-858-5888. Affordable Computers.
Even if you like your job, there are some things that can drive you nuts. Like the anonymous coward who steals your lunch from the break room fridge. Or maybe Tyler, the IT guy, who gives you that condescending look when you tell him that your computer is acting up again, as if somehow it's your fault. You put up with these clowns every single day. But what happens when you've had enough? That's the day you decide to retire. At least that's the hope, right? But will you be able to retire? Can you afford to retire? That's why you need to talk to Ron and Christy Adams at One Family Financial. They can't do anything about Cody, that moron who heats up fish in the microwave.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Zoom Video Conferencing.
I'm Gary Nunn. Reaction to a couple of published reports centering on President Trump. The Washington Post says Mr. Trump has concealed details with his talks of Russian President Vladimir Putin over the past 2 years. Senate Democratic Whip Dick Durbin on ABC's This Week saying,
when he takes the